Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to episode 98 of Talking Asperger's with Andrew. My name's Andrew Marsh, and I'm autistic. I have what is known as Asperger's syndrome, or actually what the diagnostic manuals and the doctors now say is type 1 autism or type 1 autism spectrum disorder. I prefer the term Asperger's syndrome for my condition, and that's what I'll be using throughout today's webinar. If I'm talking about autism more generally, I'll use the phrase autism. So that's the terminology I'm going to be using. Why am I doing these webinars? Well, I'm doing them because I want to help employers better manage people like me, autistic people, people with Asperger's syndrome, because they have some great skills and abilities, and they're just not getting the opportunity and the chance to showcase what they can do. And employers are scared. They don't want to make a mistake, so they don't employ them. It happens. We've seen it. We've seen it far too often. So I had a career as a geologist before I knew I had Asperger's, but I've always known I was different. And I'm now putting myself back in that position, saying, okay, if I was coming into a business as an employee, what would I like an employer to do for me, to help me, to engage with me and help me work well, effectively, efficiently, and productively? How would I do that? What would I do? And that's what I do. I use my experience, my life experience of having Asperger's syndrome, which I've known about for the last 8 years. And I try and help employers by saying, these are standard things that you can do. And virtually all of the techniques that I employ when I speak to employers and I talk to them about managing Asperger's are very, very low cost. It's not, you've got to have this program and it's 50 grand a year and you've got to, it's not that. It's standard, common sense, practical solutions to help an employer manage someone with Asperger's syndrome or autism and get the best from them. That doesn't cost a lot of money with the right kind of thought, with the right kind of approach, and the willingness to try it. And I'm just going to throw this in here. In the UK, there's a law called the Equality Act in 2010. Makes it an offence to discriminate against anyone, including autistic people, people with Asperger's syndrome, in your business. So if you don't employ autistic people because you don't want to get it wrong, you're actually in breach of the law. So there are things called reasonable adjustments, which are things that employers can do to help autistic people work better in their business. Just as I use this as a simple example, but it's a very poignant example. Let's just suppose you've got a business, you've got a car park, and there's 6 stairs up to the front door of your building. And one day, someone with a wheelchair comes up and goes, I can't get up those stairs in my wheelchair. And if that was an employee, you're not making your business accessible to your employees. And you might be sitting there thinking, it's okay, there's plenty of other employees out there. We'll get someone else, which is wrong, absolutely wrong, but bear with me. What if that person in the wheelchair was someone who was going to do £2 million worth of business with your business that year? They've said, I've got a check for £2 million. I've got an order for £2 million of your products and services. Oh, I can't get in the building. Do you know what? Guy down the road, they've got a ramp. I'll go and see them. I'll give them my 2 million quid's worth of business. Right. That's where we are with accessibility and providing an environment that is fitting and safe and secure and productive for everyone to work in. You wouldn't not have the ramp or a lift to allow someone in a wheelchair getting into your business. Then don't discriminate from those who are autistic or have Asperger's syndrome just because of that fact. They have amazing skills to help you with your business. So we're going to I cover a different topic every week. Today we're covering a very interesting one because this is so easy to get wrong. It's also quite easy to get right. We're going to be talking about, okay, how do you recruit someone with Asperger's syndrome? Ooh, how do you recruit someone with Asperger's syndrome? To start off, your advert that you put on your social media, on your website, if you're still doing the trade press, on the websites that you get, all the agency websites that are all out there. Rule number 1 in your advert, see, We are looking for and encourage people with autism or Asperger syndrome to apply for this position. We will make the process accessible for you. If you would like details of how to do that, click this link. And there you should have a separate procedure for someone who has autism or Asperger syndrome to apply to your business. Because if it's just a standard click here, there's our online portal, I could go into a very interesting rant right now about employers' online portals for applications to work for them. Number one, don't. Number two, see rule number one. Please don't. They are horrible, awful, contradictory. And then when you've done all of that, you filled out all these fields and boxes and it then says append your CV. It does. If you wanted to see my CV, just ask for a cover letter and a CV, and I'll put it in the post or I'll email it to you. Dear sir, I saw your advert in the trade press on such and such a date. You're looking for this person. This is the summary of my skills, and here's my CV. I look forward to hearing from you in due course. Boom. That's what you want to be able to get. The online portals are a nightmare. I'm autistic. I have Asperger's. I hate anything that has an online portal. Click here. What on earth is that question all about? What you will do with your online portal is you will reject. The candidates will reject themselves. They're actually rejecting you as an employer. Do you know what? I cannot cope with that online portal. I'm not going to apply. That's what people will do. They will click it. They will start. They go, what is this? Say 6 things that you did in your last business where you excelled at what you did. Or how did you problem solve the 3 things in your last business? What? Please don't do it. If you have an online portal for your employment, stop using it. Say to someone, I want a 100-word summary of your experience, and I want your CV, and just make sure your CV is up to speed and up to date. That's all you want. Because all you're doing with your online portals is you're giving some poor sap in HR all these things to look through and automatically sorting. We don't want them. They fill that box out well. Boom, rejection, 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 rejection. Please don't use online application portals for your candidates. If you do, you are missing out on a huge amount of talent for people who just can't cope with online portals. Please don't do it. Just send us an email, 100 words or 200 words as to why you think you're ideal for this position and your CV. Send that to this email address. Boom. That's how you do it. We are in the state of online portals because someone said they can do it. Oh, that'll be great for us. We can sort them. We can categorize them. We could do, oh, yeah. Please don't do them. I guarantee you, if you have an online portal for your application process for someone to come and work in your business, you are missing out on an enormous amount of talent because there are people who can't cope with portals. And if you ever did your analytics, your KPIs and your other buzzwordy terminology from your online portal, and your HR manager and HR director have got this plethora of data, they're going to think it's wonderful. But you're missing the point. You're missing the point. All you will get from your online portal application process is what? People who are good at filling out online portals. Doesn't tell you anything about their abilities as an employee, what their skill sets are, what their abilities are, where they excelled and how they did well at their work, how they feel and how they think about what they do. You'd be better off saying to them, phone this number for an informal chat with one of our managers. It will be 10 minutes. We will ask you these 3 questions. And if you pass that 10-minute 3-question thing, we will then ask you to send your CV. That is a much better way of having someone applying to your job. And yes, autistic people will struggle with that 10-minute telephone conversation. But if you've told them the 3 questions that you're going to ask them, they can prepare. They can't prepare for this online portal nonsense that takes them 2 days. Please don't do it. So, enough of online portals. Let's go to the second part. So you've got an advert, you put your advert, online portal, we're not doing them, CV, application. Then you've got to sort through that. Excuse me one moment. You've got someone, at some point in the process, a human being has to make a decision. The computer portal has spit out, we've had 63 applicants. We can get rid of those 26 because they didn't fill out the boxes correctly. Didn't like the answer to the question number 10. Did you see question number 10? Oh yeah, we really want people who answer question number 10 right. They're the go-getters we want. Yeah, all that is for question number 10. There's people who've read the NLP book and the how to get an advert, how to complete an online portal to get past that stage to get an interview. That's all you're going to be getting by that little cheeky little question 10 that you've put in, or wherever you've put it. All you're going to get is people who know how to fill out that box. There's nothing about their abilities and skills at all. Trust me on this. You will get buzzword Billy, who knows all the terminology, all the buzzwords, all the acronyms, all of that. Can spout that in the canteen for hours on end. But they won't be saying anything because they don't actually know what they're doing. They just know how to spout numbers, KPIs and acronyms and abbreviations. Get past that and find out what they can do, and they will not know what to do. They're just full of BS. You know what I mean. You've met them. You might actually have employed some of them. So let's go to the next stage of recruiting someone with Asperger's syndrome or autism. At that point where you have, and I said it right at the beginning, if you have Asperger's or you would prefer not to submit through our online portal, please click this link and follow the guidelines. And those guidelines should say, we would like a brief introductory email from you setting out who you are, what you do, briefly what you think you can bring to the business, and an up-to-date CV. And please send it to this email address. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. And yes, it is going to mean that someone has to monitor that email address and someone has to actually read and go through them. And do you know what? If you actually have that, rather than what the computer spits out from your online portal, you will actually start to find out more about the people, the person who is applying to your business. That's the important thing. You want to find out what makes them tick. You're not going to find that out just by having an online portal. I'll try not to go on too much more about online portals, but you might have gathered it's a bugbear of mine. Okay, so you're sitting there, HR manager, HR director, and the manager of the department where the vacancy is, and you're sitting there, you're going through your online portal results or your CVs from people who sent in using that separate link, and you look at that, and you're going to have to sit and make a decision. Who are we going to interview? Well, I like these people. I like that CV. That's a really nice CV. I like that person. They've said something about themselves in that CV. We'll have those people in for interview. Then you have the interview. Let's assume that you've got your bundle of, depends on the position that you're after. If you're at a junior position, you might have quite a lot of people and you might want to select 9 or 10 for interview. Some of those might not want to come into interview. They might have found something else or realized that the job isn't for them. If you're going for a more senior position, then you might only want to interview 3 or 4 people. So you've got that question to resolve. So you've picked your people and you say, yes, we would like to have these people in for interview. The most important thing you can do when you send the email, or dare I say it, the letter out to those candidates who got past that, whatever process that you've just done, it is essential, absolutely essential for autistic employees and people with Asperger's syndrome to know the questions that you're going to ask them at interview so that they can prepare. Because if you just have someone with Asperger's in your building, in the interview room, which could be daunting, it might be too bright, there might be too much bright lights, there might be noise going on. Have you thought of that? Have you thought of the setting for the room? Is it autistic friendly? Is it friendly for someone who doesn't like bright overhead lights? Is it friendly for someone who doesn't like glaring sunlight coming in the windows? Is it accessible to someone who doesn't like loud noises? So don't sit them next to the door that keeps slamming because no one's bothered to fix the hinge. Yeah, you've got those doors in your building somewhere and no one's bothered to fix them because everyone's just got used to it. So you've got 2 points there. You've got the accessibility of advising the candidates what questions you're going to ask them. The second accessibility is the meeting room, is the process of that person coming to your business for interview. Do they know which floor they need to get on? Is it wheelchair accessible? Do they know which floor? Who do they report to? Is there a reception area where there's someone behind a reception desk? They can say, hi, good morning. My name is Andrew. I've come for an interview at 10 o'clock with Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so. And, yes, fine, certainly. Would you like to take a seat here? Can I get you a cup of tea, cup of coffee? Has all that been sorted out? Or do you just have someone coming out the lift going, where do I go now? What do I do? What do I do? Where do I go? Take the uncertainty away from people who are going to be under stress because they really want this job. This job, they can do this. They know how to do this job. They're skilled at it. They know what they want. They know they can do this. They've just got to get past all of these little hurdles that you're putting in the front. And don't think of all these little hurdles as, ha, 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 yeah, we'll get the ones that jump through all our hoops, mate. We'll have absolutely fantastic candidates. Guess what? You won't necessarily get what you're looking for because all you'll get, referring back to what I said earlier, is you'll get people who know how to jump through the hoops. You won't necessarily get people who know how to do the job you've asked them to do and can become a team player, can fit in to your team. That's what you've got to think about. So make that process accessible. Tell them in the email or the letter that you send out saying, please report to the 3rd floor. Come out of the lift and turn right. You will see a reception. The receptionist will greet you and you will be given the opportunity to sit down in reception. Someone will come and collect you and take you to the meeting room. Are there any accessibility issues or reasonable adjustments that we need to make that room accessible and comfortable for you to be in? So light, noise, smells, all those sorts of things. Texture of the room. Ask them in that email, are there any things that we can do to help make that interview process accessible for you? And we can make reasonable adjustments so that you can be comfortable in our business, in our meeting room, to talk through and have the interview in a comfort and relaxed state. Ask them those questions. Give them the questions that you want to ask them. Because one of the things that autistic people are very good at, excuse me one moment, is when someone's asked them a question. What do you know about the process in this part of the industry? And the autistic person will sit there and not say anything. And they might not say anything for what you might consider to be an inordinate amount of time. They are not ignoring you. You just asked them a question and they are processing that question with the killer answer. They are considering all the options. They're considering what happens for that, to that, to that. What's the output from that? What happens to there? What's the consequences of that? They're processing and going through the motions of all of the things that could happen if that happens, if that happens, if that happens, and even if that happens. They're going through that in their head so that they can answer you. Now, that silence is not them ignoring you. It's not them going, frozen, rabbit in the headlights. They don't know what they're doing. They are processing. And you just need to sit patiently, not start drumming your fingers, not start looking at your watch or looking up at the wall or turning around and looking at the clock behind you going, come on, come on, come on, I've got 3 more of these to do today. Oh, yeah, let's just make this short. We'll get rid of him. We don't want this person anyway because they're taking too long to answer the question. They are thinking about the question you've asked, and they are thinking about it in ways that you could possibly, not even possibly comprehend. And then they will answer. And they will give you a full and detailed answer. And you will sit there and thinking, where did all of that come from? Wow. You've thought of all of that? Yeah. So by giving them the questions in advance, they are able to prepare so that you won't necessarily get that long silence, because that's not uncomfortable to the autistic person. That's the thing. It is not uncomfortable to the autistic person. We're quite happy sitting in our own space, doing our own thing, working. And we can do that quietly, efficiently, under the radar. So it is not an uneasy 2-minute silence to them because they are thinking about answering your question. So if they know the questions you're going to ask them first, they are prepared. They can give you very good answers to those questions because that's what you want. You want to see what your candidate is capable of doing, how they can answer the questions. So that's really important that you make the how to get into the building to the reception area accessible. Explain. Come out of the lift on the 3rd floor and take the 2nd door on the left. It's got our business name on it, and when you walk in, there will be a reception area and there will be someone on the desk that you can go to and introduce yourself to. That's what you need to say. Don't say, our building's at this postcode. See you when you get there, mate. Make it accessible. Have someone come and meet them and take them to the meeting room that you have already pre-checked is okay for them to be in terms of light, noise, environment, and so on. Have your questions. Then what you are doing, you are giving the autistic person, the person with Asperger syndrome, the best possible opportunity to express themselves and be as good as someone else. You are leveling the playing field. You are giving everyone the equal opportunity. That's what the Equality Act of 2010 is about. It's about providing a level playing field. It's about providing the wheelchair ramp. It's about providing the chair for someone who's got a bad back or has just fallen off their horse and broken their hip, and they can either come back to work in 3 weeks, but they need a proper orthopedically supportive chair, or they can be off work for 6 months. They can get depressed, and you might think, well, what are we going to do about this? We've got no person. So you then spend some you then recruit someone from an agency at twice the rate. You're losing all that skill and experience when the person comes back to work, and it hasn't worked for you. So what would you rather have? Spend £200 on a chair and have your employee back in 3 weeks, or wait for 6 months, 9 months, and they've got a doctor's line that says so? What do? You're stumped. You get the chair. You get the chair. This is about the metaphorical getting the chair, having the wheelchair ramp, so that everything in the process is accessible to the autistic person, to the person with Asperger's syndrome. And then you will find you have got fantastic candidates who are great, fantastic at certain things about the job that you will sit there thinking, wow, can you really do that? If we briefed you about what we want you to do, could you do that? Yeah. Just tell me what you want, who to speak to when I need to ask questions, where do I get my support from? Am I on my own, or have I got other team members to negotiate with, to liaise with, and leave me to it. Once you've briefed me, told me how to check in, where to check in, who to ask for questions, where the suppliers are and the support that they need, leave me to it. I'll have it done. Just make sure that what you ask me is what you really want, and don't be a micromanager who's always making changes 5 times a day. That won't work. Doesn't work for anyone. It certainly won't work for an autistic person or someone with Asperger's syndrome. So absolutely vital that that whole process of recruiting someone with autism or Asperger's syndrome is as accessible as you can make it right from the start. The start being, we need to recruit. This is the advert. This is the alternative for someone who can't use or is uncomfortable using our portals. This is how they can apply to us. Have a human being review those CVs and applications that come in. Have a human being decide who you want to interview. Make that interview process accessible. How do they get into the building? What floor? What level? How do they get to it? Is it left or right out the lift? That might seem ridiculously easy for you because you know you're on the 3rd floor. You turn right when you come out the lift and it's that door and there's Jean on the reception desk. Hi, Jean, how you doing? Yeah, hello, Mr. So-and-so. Whatever. However that works for you. And I've just used 2 horrible stereotypes, haven't I? And I apologize for that. I've just used a stereotype that it's a male person who came into the building and it was a lady on the reception desk. That's a stereotype. I shouldn't have done that. But see how easy it is to fall into those stereotypes and assumptions about people. Don't make assumptions. Ask. If you've got someone coming into your building as a candidate for an interview, make sure they know exactly and specifically how to get to where they need to report to and who they need to report to. And don't just assume or say, hey, we'll make it a challenge for them. Yeah, make it a challenge. See if they can fathom out where we are in the building. Yeah, there's a notice board downstairs that's behind. There's got a pot plant in front of it that hides where you're building, what floor you're on. Seen them too often in big fancy receptions. You've seen them. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't make it a challenge of hoops that they have to go through, because all you will do is get people who can jump through hoops. No idea about the job. It's buzzword Billy and acronyms, abbreviations, biff baff boff. They know nothing about the job. They can just talk the patter. And if you fall for it, well, more fool you. Make the process accessible. Please do that. And you will then get candidates that are appropriate and are qualified and want to come and work for you. Because I can guarantee you, Buzzword Billy has probably got 50 applications out to different places. Guarantee you that Buzzword Billy is going to be hitting the market everywhere. Boom. Because one of those is going to be potentially foolish enough to pick them up and take them on. Yeah, got on great. You want to have candidates who know how to do what you're doing. They've got the skills. Even if you're taking on a school leaver or a fresh graduate, there are skills that they will have. They will know how to format a report. They will know how to do a PowerPoint presentation. They will know how to use a spreadsheet. They will know how to do all of these things. And it's up to you to then train them in the role that you want them to do. Isn't that great? If you get a young person coming in and you can train them in how to do the job you want them to do. You've not got to get them to relearn and realize that what they've done before was wrong because it doesn't fit the way you do what you do. You can nurture someone and bring them on to how you do your business. That's what you want to be able to do. And employing autistic people or someone with Asperger's syndrome, I can guarantee you that you will have someone who really wants to work. Give them a task, brief them, let them know how to check in, who to report to, who to ask questions, and set them running. Off they go. You will be amazed at what they're able to do. And don't just think because they're entry-level candidate for an entry-level position that they don't have skills that are way, way beyond that level. Nurture those skills, encourage those skills, support them, find out what they can do, because they could do amazing things if they're given the opportunity. It is quite likely in big business that the founder of the company might be autistic or have Asperger's syndrome. Elon Musk has Asperger's syndrome. Bill Gates is believed to have Asperger's syndrome. Steve Jobs was believed to have Asperger's syndrome. Isaac Newton was believed to have Asperger's syndrome. Albert Einstein, Alan Turing, Leonardo da Vinci. The list goes on. Incredibly talented people were believed to be autistic or have Asperger's syndrome. So it's quite likely at the top of the tree in the business you work, you might have someone who is autistic or has Asperger's syndrome. And it was their vision of this new thing, this innovative idea that they had that no one else in the business in the world had come up with. They could produce that thing. And that's how their business started. That's potentially what you can have by employing autistic people and people with Asperger's syndrome in your business. You could have an amazing talent. And yes, okay, they're coming in for an entry-level position. That isn't necessarily where they'll end up in 5 years' time. Nurture that skill. Nurture that person. Give them the same opportunities as the neurotypical person sitting next to them. And all of that starts from the moment you sat in a room and gone, we're expanding, we need more people. Okay, what are we looking for? We want this level, this level, this level. We want 3 of those, 2 of those, and 1 of those. Okay, let's get our advert together. Let's go speak to HR. Let's go speak to the department heads of the department where those people are coming up. What are they looking for? And at that point, ask yourself the question, how do we make this accessible for everyone? And have a separate process for people who can't cope with portals. Okay? You will get better candidates if you just say, if you don't want to use the portal, here's the alternative process, 200 words, email, up-to-date CV, boom, send it to this person. That's how you start the process of employing autistic people and people with Asperger's syndrome, by making that process as accessible as you can. Just as I said earlier, make it accessible as to how to get into the building. What floor? Do they turn left or right out the lift? Is there someone to greet them? Or do they just stand around hoping that someone's going to walk up and go, yeah, can I help you? Yeah, I'm in for an interview with this person. Oh, yeah. Just have a seat. Have someone there to make them feel welcome. Oh, yes, we've been expecting you. Good morning. Would you like to take a seat over there, and can I get you a drink, cup of tea or coffee? Drink of water. Start the process how you intend to carry on. Because if you ignore them, you don't give them the right information, and you treat them blasé, and all you're going to do is put them off. And you're putting off the better candidates. So you end up with Buzzword Billy, who'll stay there for 2 years, get found out that he's Buzzword Billy and he's no good for anyone. And you've either got to sack him or her, or hope that they move on. It's your choice. But it all starts with the accessibility right from the get-go. Don't think of it as an afterthought. Don't wait, because this might happen. Don't wait until you have an autistic person email you in frustration to say, hi, my name's Andrew. I saw your advert and I was interested in applying. I started to fill out your online portal, but to be perfectly honest with you, it just wasn't working for me. The questions were ambiguous. They didn't know what they were doing. I got confused and I bailed out. But I'm still interested in applying. How can I apply without going through your online portal? There must be an alternative process. If you start getting those emails, you're in trouble. Because that candidate could turn around and go to an employment law and say, they've not made this job hunting process accessible. They've not made it accessible to me, and I have autism. I have Asperger syndrome. I can't operate their portals. That doesn't work for me. They haven't given me an alternative way of doing that. Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. You've got an employment lawyer's eyes are going, woo, lightening up. Yeah, we'll have some of that. So think very clearly. Think very clearly what it is you want. What candidates you are looking for, what their skill sets are, what their abilities are, what they can do. Explain the nature of the job. That might sound a really ridiculous thing, rather than just saying junior clerk wanted or a senior engineer wanted, give some indication of what it is they're expected to do on a daily basis. So if it's for a junior level, it might be filing, photocopying, report binding, assisting with presentations, writing reports, writing emails, writing letters, doing PowerPoints, and all of those things. Tell them what you want. Tell them. Communication is the key. Wow, that's an exciting day today. I love getting stuck into that. So, final words. Try not to use portals if you can avoid it at all costs. Just say 200 words, up-to-date CV, this email address, boom. You'll get better candidates. Make the interview process accessible. And listen to the candidate when they say, if I take on this position, if you offer me a job and I take it on, I will need this level of reasonable adjustments in order to work productively, effectively, and efficiently. And I'm requiring you to do those under the Equality Act of 2010. And they might not say that last bit, but they'll say, I'd like some reasonable adjustments in order for me to be able to work productively, effectively, and efficiently. It's up to you to accommodate that, if they're reasonable. That might not be putting in £100,000 lift for one candidate, but it might be, oh, let's have where this person is going to work on the ground floor so they don't need to use the lift. They can work on the ground floor and we can liaise with them up and down the building by having someone go down to see them every now and then. That's a reasonable adjustment. Think about it. Think carefully about it. And if you want to know more about how to manage someone with Asperger syndrome or autism in your business, please feel free to get in touch. My website is over my shoulder there at aspergersmatters.com, and there's a contact form on there. And you can email me at andrew@aspergersmatters.com. If you want to know anything about managing someone with Asperger's or autism in your business, and you just don't know where to start, you just don't know what to do, and you don't want to get it wrong, so you don't do anything. Doing nothing is also doing it wrong. I would welcome the opportunity to have a free 30-minute consultation with you to discuss this with no obligation to see how I can help you in your business. Keep a lookout on Thursday or Friday for this video will be posted online on my YouTube channel, and keep a lookout on Friday for what next week's topic will be, which will be episode 99. It's getting excited. We're getting up to near episode 100. So my YouTube channel has all the videos to all the previous webinars, so that's 97 previous episodes plus today's on my YouTube channel. There's bound to be something there that will resonate with you on how you can do something better in your business to better manage someone with Asperger syndrome and autism. That's my goal. If I can help one employer employ one person and have them working effectively, efficiently, and productively, that's a great day at the office. If I can help that employer do it for 100 employees, even better. But if I can help an employer realize the skill and the potential of a candidate who has autism or Asperger's and how to manage that person to get the best from them, yes, please. That's exactly what I want to be able to do. And if you are on the spectrum and you're just not sure how to go about applying for a job, or you're having difficulties at work with your manager or your supervisor, and you want a sounding board, someone to just talk to about certain things, please feel free to get in touch. Like I said, quite happily have a 30-minute consultation with you, no obligation, free of charge, to see how I can help you. Because I've been there. I was that different person in a business, and no one knew I had Asperger's, least of all me. So I've lived it. I've understand it. I understand what it's like to feel ostracized in a business because they're not working with you to help you be good and efficient and effective. That's all we have time for this week. So take care. See you next week, and be good.